Okay, I'm going to get to business here in just a minute, but first I need to make a clarification about my last two videos. Now, I said that the last 2 weeks of Impact had been good, meaning that they had been a step up from what Impact had been delivering lately. I didn't say they were the two greatest wrestling shows I'd ever seen in my life. Now, if you think about what Impact has been like for the last few months, by comparison, the show was much improved for the last 2 weeks, but was it perfect? No, it wasn't. There were still a lot of problems with the show, and this week they took all those problems and shined a big spotlight right on them. I don't know what on earth happened in that writer's room. I mean, how can you even describe Impact this week? It was chaotic, the pacing was all over the place, less than 20 minutes of wrestling, and a main event that ended in a DQ after about 90 seconds. Alright, TNA, why do you book Samoa Joe versus Sting in a Bound for Glory main event rematch if you're only going to give it 90 seconds? Why even do the match at all if you're just going to throw it away like this? Why put this match on Impact if you're going to present it in such a way that actually prevents it from drawing ratings? Another thing that made me want to throw my TV out a second-story window was the Jeff Jarrett-AJ Styles thing. Okay, first, Jeff Jarrett comes out and he says that since Samoa Joe doesn't want to be team captain for Lethal Lockdown, that Jarrett has to choose a new captain. So he chooses AJ Styles. And I'm thinking, great, fantastic. AJ's exactly the person who should get that spot. But then AJ comes out and he says, I can't take the spot, Jeff. Why don't you do it? Who am I? I'm nobody. I don't deserve it. It should be you, Jeff Jarrett. What? AJ Styles thinks he doesn't deserve to be a Lethal Lockdown captain. AJ Styles, a 3-time TNA World Heavyweight Champion, the current TNA Legends Champion, the first ever TNA Grand Slam Champion, all of a sudden does not deserve to be a Lethal Lockdown captain? Of course! So let's just let Jeff Jarrett be captain instead, because apparently Jeff Jarrett would benefit from having this spot so much more than one of the great young talents of TNA that he claims to be such a huge proponent of. Look, I don't have a problem with Jeff Jarrett being on the team for Lethal Lockdown. He should be on the team for Lethal Lockdown. But why does he have to be the captain when he won't get anything out of it and AJ would get a lot out of it? Can you explain that to me? And this made absolutely no sense whatsoever for AJ's character to do this. Just a few weeks ago, AJ cut a promo saying that it was time for the young talent, the TNA originals, to step up to the plate and stop relying on the other veterans like Rhino and 3D and whoever, to fight the main event Mafia for them. He said it was time for the young guys to do it themselves. And then, the second he gets the chance to do exactly that, it's, no, Jeff, I don't deserve it. Why don't you do it instead? And here's the worst part about this, okay? One of the biggest criticisms about Jeff Jarrett in TNA is that he pushes himself too hard, right? Back when this whole main event Mafia storyline first began, Jeff Jarrett did an interview when he was asked what he was going to do about these veterans who were trying to take over TNA. He said he wasn't going to do anything. He was going to step aside, he was going to pass the torch and let the young guys handle it. Fast forward a couple months, Jeff Jarrett makes AJ Styles the captain for Lethal Lockdown, only for AJ to tell him that he, Jeff Jarrett, is the only one who can be captain, and Jarrett reluctantly takes the spot instead. So what happened here was Jeff Jarrett gave himself one of the biggest spots in one of the biggest matches in one of TNA's biggest pay-per-views of the year that by all rights should have been given to Samoa Joe or AJ Styles, but from the way the writers presented this, Jarrett actually ended up looking like the good guy in this situation. That's what just drives me crazy about this whole thing, and it's a perfect example of what I said a few weeks ago. Jeff Jarrett just should not be an on-screen character and head of creative at the same time, because the conflict of interest is just too big. And while I'm in a ranting mood, I guess this is as good a time as any to explain my reservations about the Sting Mick Foley match at Lockdown. Now, I said that the build-up to this match had been very good, and I meant it. The build-up to this match has been extremely well done, and the promos continue to be excellent. But I'll tell you what the problem with this whole thing is. The last time Sting had a great match was at Bound for Glory with Samoa Joe because Joe carried him so well. The last time Sting had a good match was at Turning Point with AJ because AJ carried him so well. But ever since then, Sting has not had a single good match. Ever since then, Sting has dragged down every single match he has been a part of, and I dare anyone to disagree with me on that. He's 50 years old, his knees are hurting him, and at Destination X, even Kurt Angle could not carry him to a good match. Mick Foley, love the guy to death. Respect the hell out of him, but let's be honest with ourselves here. His last two in-ring performances at Genesis and on Impact 2 weeks ago were not good. So both of these guys are at a point now in their careers and their respective ages where they need a really great opponent to carry them in order to have a good match. So when they get in the ring at Lockdown, what kind of match are they going to have together? That's what I'm worried about. I mean, I feel like Foley might take some sick, insane bump to make this match at least somewhat memorable, but Sting is probably just going to deliver exactly what he's been delivering for the last 5 months, which is not much, and the match could very well be a complete disappointment. Now, if this was just a special attraction match, then I wouldn't have a problem with it, but this is supposed to be the main event for the World Heavyweight Championship. I mean, if the build-up to it continues to be as good as it has been, then I think people will be excited to see the match, but as soon as that bell rings, I think it's going to be like, oh my god, what were they thinking? You know? So that's my rant on Sting and Foley. Something I did like about Impact this week was the Beer Money 3D stuff. And I'm not talking about the match 3D had. I mean, that match was lousy. And quite frankly, I don't know how 3D are supposed to look like they can beat Beer Money when they had their hands full with two fat slob jobbers from Main Event Mafia Security. But I did really enjoy the angle they did with 3D and Beer Money afterward. Beer Money want 3D to be completely healthy so they can be at their absolute best when they face each other at Lockdown. They don't want to beat 3D, a 3D that's less than 100%. They want to beat 3D at their absolute best. I love this. And as of right now, out of every match on a Lockdown card, I think this is the match that has the best build-up, and right now this is the match I'm looking forward to the most. And I think the build-up for this title versus title match beats the living hell out of the build-up for the Cologne's Miz and Morrison title versus title match at WrestleMania. Also, I absolutely cannot stand these Dr. Stevie vignettes. They're campy, they're stupid, they're killing Abyss's character. I think if TNA really wants to take their product in a more serious direction, then the Dr. Stevie thing has absolutely no place on the show. But what I did love was the second one they did, and not because of the skit itself, but because they finally ditched the god-awful Sarah Palin gimmick. I guess the writers finally came to their senses on that one, thank God. So it looks like they're taking Daphne back to her psycho goth character, which is perfect. Daphne's always been really entertaining with that gimmick. She got over with it in WCW, and she wasn't even a wrestler back then. So never ever mention the governor gimmick ever again. Let Daphne run with this new character, and she will get over easily as long as you don't go overboard with it. As for the rest of the show, really didn't like it at all. The 8-man tag match was fun, but it only lasted 4 minutes, and AJ and Steiner was okay until the latest in a long line of overbooked finishes that this creative team seems to love so much. Did not like the rest of the show. Got nothing else to say. Don't miss Ring of Honor on HDNet Saturday night, and WrestleMania 25 this Sunday. I don't love the build-up for some of it, but there's potential for a good WrestleMania there. It might be a good show. I sure hope it is. So, you know, we'll see. And I'll get back to you guys probably next week.